Yes, people, what's going on, man? What's going on? We're back with another stream. Hey, listen, the content keeps coming, man. It keeps coming. Road to 3K. We've got a solid panel today. You know what I'm saying? We've got man like Charlie back on the channel. What are you saying, bro? You good?
Yeah, bro, I'm good. Pleased to be back. Looking forward to getting stuck into things. As always, there's plenty going on with Chelsea.
Definitely. We've got a lot to tuck into, man. We've got Dan back on the channel as well. It's been a minute since I've spoken to Dan, actually. We always go back and forth in the group chat about certain things. We agree on a lot and we disagree on a lot, but it's love every time. It's my bro. What are you saying, bro? You good?
Yeah, mate. Pleasure to be on. Love chatting about Chelsea. I feel like things are starting to get underway now. We had so much of pre-season where things just didn't feel like they were happening, but we're starting to see us play some ball now under Maresca. Yeah, good to chat about it.
Perfect, man. And Ziad, my brother, you know what I'm saying? I see you're out here grafting as well, people. Listen, road to 2K for Ziad, people, man. Please subscribe to this channel. You know, he's putting out some good content. What are you saying, bro? You good?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, pleasure to have me on, man. Thanks for having me on. Listen, Chelsea, like Dan said, man, it's finally kicking off. Maybe you get two strikers instead of one. No left winger, bro. Two strikers instead. Chelsea got different ideas.
Hey, take time, man. Don't worry. We're gonna get there. You're gonna get some. Yeah. AJ should be joining us as well. Maybe he's got stuck with work or something. But let's go through the chat. We've got about 33 people here already. Let's see who's in here. We've got man like Peter. Big up Peter, my bro. CB's not here today. I don't know why you're mentioning CB. CB, please don't bring your Chilwell prop today, fam. CB's not here. I think this guy's I think he's got one of his cousins plays for France, you know. So he's at the Olympics watching him. Big him up every time. But yeah, I will definitely get him on the channel soon. Big up Ricky every time. Big up lads. Big up my bro. Big up Don on the panel. Like the stream, man. Them. Yep. Make sure that you smashed up the likes, people, man. Listen, make sure that you smashed up the likes. Like I said, subscribing to the channel, road to 3K. But yeah, man, we've got a lot to get into today, man. Omorodion news back again. Some people call him Omicron because it seems like it's a virus that we can't get rid of. You know, I've shared my thoughts many times about this guy. I don't want him. You know, we'll get into it in more detail. Osimhen, there's still rumors floating about him potentially coming, and we're going to get him and Omorodion. That's a big question that's going around at the minute. Obviously the whole Gallagher thing, he's gone to Atletico Madrid. It looks like it's very likely he's gonna end up there as well. And we'll speak about some of the few loose ends like Datro, Fofana, Broja. You know, you've got Chilwell as well potentially that could be leaving this summer. So yeah, quite a lot to get into, man. But let's get straight into it. Let's talk about Omorodion. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a guy who, at the minute, universally, I'm seeing a lot of Chelsea fans not wanting this guy. You know what I'm trying to say? And for me, listen, I know Chelsea are, at the minute, it seems like we're spoiled. A lot of fans keep talking about the caliber of player that we're going for. They want the big names. But I keep telling people, listen, for me this summer, I'm trying to be as open-minded as possible. I'm not just trying to go for the big names. I want to go for the right profile and for the right person. Yeah, because I'm done with the days of just splashing 100 million because it sounds good on paper. But when you bring them here, all of a sudden, they're not going to work a year or two into their time at Chelsea, you know? So Omorodion, for me, listen, I can see exactly why Chelsea are going for him because he's the sort of profile that ideally we need in this team. You know, he's very strong, you know, very physical. He's good in the air. He's good at running in behind. His box movement seems to be quite good as well. But there is a lot of weaknesses with this guy at the minute, which I am not keen on, especially after signing Mark Gill, who for me is actually better than him. You know, on the ball, he looks very clunky. You know, in terms of his dribbling in tight areas, it's not good. His passing to get people involved in the game as well just doesn't seem good. You know, he seems very heavy-footed. His shooting itself as well, his finishing ain't great. You know, like I compared the stats between him and Jackson's got, you know, a better finishing rate than him. You know, to be fair to him, he was in a side that wasn't great, whereas Jackson was in a side that created a lot of chances. But I watched all his shots back from last season and his goals from last season. So many of the chances, I'm thinking, yo, how have you not buried that? So it's not even like we're getting an improved finisher over Jackson because he's a different, you know, he's got a different physicality in comparison to a Jackson. He just don't seem like it for me. And when I was linked to him back in June, I literally said, for me, I'd rather go for someone else over him. For me, I think Mark Gill was actually better than him, you know. And for me, I was actually saying he should stay in Spain for a little bit longer because he's a little bit too raw. You know what I'm trying to say? So I've actually watched a lot of this guy's games back. and I'm just not confident in him. Hopefully he proves me wrong. I'll be real, people. Hopefully he proves me wrong. But he's the right profile, but it's not the right person, in my opinion. But what do you think of him, Charlie, man? What do you think of Omorodion from what you've seen so far?
Bro, I'll be real. Like when we were first linked with him back in like earlier this summer, that was the first time I heard of him. Atletico signed him last summer, and then he's not played for him because he went on loan. He went on loan to Alaves last season. I think he got like 9 goals in about 35, 36 appearances. Nothing special or anything. I look at this and it's just a textbook Chelsea signing, isn't it? It's another promising striker with potential. You sort of pay the £35 million. You know there's going to be a resale value there. For a few years down the line when he probably inevitably leaves the club. I look at this and I think of it as I don't want to disrespect him by calling him a B-Tech Osimhen, but in terms of, I think Chelsea are looking at this and thinking, right, this guy has got similar attributes to what Osimhen has and what we're looking for in terms of that physicality, good in the air, link up there, etc., but he's much more affordable. And then we can mold him into the way that we want to play because he's very inexperienced. He's not played an awful lot of football. Whereas with an Osimhen, who's a more proven quantity, because he's kind of quite set in a certain way of playing in his career so far, it could be a bit more difficult to get him to like shape him into the way that we want to play under Maresca. So I think with a lot of these younger guys, I think part of the attraction for Chelsea is that they can mold them into the way that they want to play, and there shouldn't be too many issues. But I just think, man, I look at it and I think, right, well, he's different to Jackson in terms of his different profile, which is good. I think it's good to have 2 strikers with different profiles. So you haven't got the same thing, you've got different options and that. But I'm looking at this and this don't improve the team, in my opinion. Not right now anyway. Like, and this is what I've said about all of Chelsea's business. I don't hate all of it, but I'm looking at the names that we've signed this summer, and Omorodion will become another one. Is that which of these guys are making the first 11 better? Who is making the first 11 better straight away? No one. No one's making the first 11 better. So look, Omorodion could be good in 2 or 3 years' time. I'm not denying that. And we could be wrong. But we haven't got 2 or 3 years' time to wait for this guy to maybe become good. So my thing's always been this summer, if you're going to sign a young striker, if you're going to sign a striker, make sure it's someone that's a bit more experienced and, you know, is ready to make an impact pretty much straight away. It doesn't make sense to have signed Guiu from Barcelona, who's 18, right? Who's arguably, you know, maybe a bit better than Omorodion. You know, that's up for debate. And then you sign Omorodion as well. Why are you signing 2 strikers of a similar profile? I mean, I've got 3 in the squad at 23, 20, 18. What's the plan there? That would be my point. I don't understand what the plan is, what the thinking is there. Yes, there'll be minutes to go round from Omorodion. Of course, he'll probably start a lot of the Champions League Conference League games. He'll probably play domestic cups, and you know he might get minutes here and there in the Premier League. But I'm just not convinced on him, mate. You know, there's not enough out there to show me that this guy is it. And I just think, when you look at the other options out there, I'm not saying that the striker market's amazing or anything, because it absolutely isn't. But I'm looking at it. You're going to spend 35 million on Omorodion. You could spend, I reckon, 15 million quid more, and you could bag yourself an Ivan Toney, which would be much better suited to what we're looking to do. And it's a signing that, you know, probably under Roman, we would have made that. I know things are different now, but there are good options there to be had. But we're choosing to go down a different route. And once again, we're gambling on players who we are hoping are going to become as good as they do. And everyone's like, oh yeah, but this guy could be another Cole Palmer. That's every time we're linked with a sort of a relative unknown player, people always put that out there. But like the Cole Palmer deal,
it's lazy.
It is lazy. You might get 1 in 10 that turn out like that. But the rest of them are probably going to be more misses than they are hits. So look, I want the guy to do well. I support every player that comes through the door at the football club until the day they leave. But I'm not sure if this guy is really it and is the answer to our problems, because I'm not saying we should have signed someone better than Jackson, but this guy's not better than Nicholas Jackson right now. So what exactly are we doing?
Exactly. I'm glad that you rounded off on that point. You mentioned a lot of things that I agree with, bro. You know, for me, like I said, Mark Gill is better than this guy in terms of his ability on the ball, in terms of his link-up play, in terms of how he runs in behind, in terms of his finishing. I know we haven't really seen much of his finishing with Chelsea as of yet, because we haven't really created much for him, I would say, to be fair. But when he's through on goal, bro, I've seen this guy left foot, right foot. I know it was Barcelona B that he mainly played for, but even for the first team, he scored in his debut as well. Very nice, very good goal in his debut as well. You know what I'm trying to say? So for me, I would rather a Mark Gill and bring in someone that's a little bit more experienced, like an Osimhen at the minute, right? Because again, you're just stockpiling. You know, Mark Gill so far, he's looked really good. You know, so I don't understand why they're looking to go bring this guy in. And Ziad, before you come in, bro, yeah, I've got some of the stats here because Charlie touches up on quite a lot of some good things there about Nicholas Jackson and Omorodion. This was them last season, yeah. So you can see here, attacking, right? You can see Jackson's clearing him in terms of the goals. He cleared him. Expected goals, Jackson's got more. Bearing in mind, Jackson ain't the greatest finisher either. Goals per game, Jackson clears him on that as well a little bit. Big chances missed. Jackson's got 24. He's got 19. And if you go look at the chance creation as well between both of them, you can clearly see that Jackson gets everyone else involved more than Omorodion. And when I'm watching Omorodion, he's not that type of guy to get on the ball and pick out that pass in between the lines like a Jackson would. Remember Jackson's assist that he got for Cole Palmer against Luton? I don't see Omorodion doing something like that, right? Because he's just not that comfortable in the ball. He looks very awkward on the ball. You know, some of the things here you're seeing, assists per game, Jackson's got it. Expected assists over him. Big chances created, 8. He's got 2. You know, you have to bear in mind the fact that obviously Omorodion was playing in the worst team, but based off of what I'm seeing with my eyes, I'm not surprised that these are the stats that I'm seeing. You know what I'm saying? But what do you think of Omorodion, bro? Do you think he's the right guy to be bringing in?
Bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. This GUI thing and Jack and Omorodion, it's a bit unfair, man. Listen, I think one thing we've got to take in consideration with Chelsea signings is that Chelsea sign a lot of players knowing that they're going to make a lot of profit on them. And GUI is probably one of them. We signed him for 6 million. It's very easy to make profit on him, especially if we've seen how he's performed in recent games. You know, if he goes out on loan and does amazing and performs the way he's performing in preseason, that's pure profit, not pure profit, but that's profit back very easy for Chelsea. This stats you just showed me with Omorodion and Jackson, I don't really agree with because I'm not really bothered about chances created, carrying the ball from the halfway line like we saw last season. I don't think that's going to be necessarily in Maresca's system. Maresca's system, we're going to need someone that's better in front of goal, and I don't think we've all watched Jackson last season. Very good season, very good player, but I'm not confident with him being up front or his finishing ability. And you got to take in consideration, you could have stats again, and it's not that far apart for Jackson and Omorodion in terms of finishing. When Omorodion is playing for a relegation team, Jackson's playing for Chelsea, who will create a lot more chances. So yeah, I think that's a bit unfair on Omorodion. And I think, listen, based on what I'm seeing in terms of the chat and some people on Twitter, is like a lot of people are writing him off without basically knowing nothing about him. I know nothing about him, so I'm not going to sit and say he's definitely the right signing, definitely why we should be signing him and whatnot. By the end of the day, people writing him off when we basically know nothing about him. I think he's just, he's not an amazing signing. He's not he's not the Ivan Toney that people want. He's not the Osimhen that people want. Although Osimhen is not over. From what I heard of Atletico Madrid fans, he seems like they highly rate him. So I'm gonna listen to Atletico Madrid fans. They say they highly rate him. They see the potential. For someone who's only 20, he's got a lot of things that you cannot teach. He's very good in the air, which Jackson isn't. He's very physical, which you can say Jackson is, of course. He's quite physical. But at the end of the day, in our current squad, could you say he walks into our squad? No. But even if we were to only sign Omorodion and not sign Osimhen, Omorodion still offers us something that we do not have in our current squad. By the end of the day, you look at the recent news that's coming out literally as we're live, everything could collapse. So we could maybe not even get Omorodion, and we switch to someone else. We might not even be able to get rid of Gallagher. A lot of things may be changing in the next 24 hours. This deal could collapse. Fabrizio, did you tweet tonight, Don, if you want to get it up? Now, this deal could collapse. It all depends on Alvarez. If Alvarez says no to Atletico Madrid, Omorodion is not happening. Gallagher to Atletico Madrid is possibly not happening, But I still think, as much as this may sound crazy, I do believe Chelsea will be going in for Omorodion and Osimhen. We saw it last season, Chelsea doing madness by signing Caicedo and Lavia. That was like literally in the space of a couple of days, we signed both of them. No one expected that. I didn't expect that, And at the end of the day, Chelsea have been looking at Omorodion for a very long time and Osimhen for a very long time, right? And at the end of the day, I think the main reason we are getting Omorodion, or if Alvarez accepts personal terms of Atletico Madrid, is because the price tag has dropped significantly. It was going to be 50 to 60 million, but because of the deal to Atletico Madrid for Gallagher, and the fact that they've agreed basically a fee with Man City, they've said, okay, we'll drop the fee. So Chelsea are striking on that deal. They're taking their opportunity. They see him as an opportunistic signing, which we've seen many times, and that's why they're going for him. And that's why I feel like as much as they're going for him as an opportunity, they still won't miss out on their main target, which has been Osimhen. So I find it
that's what needs to happen. That's the thing, though, Ziad. That's the thing, though, Ziad. Listen, for me, I can clearly see the attributes. I can clearly see why they're going for him. Same thing as Jorgensen. Same thing as Gusto. All these young players, I can see why they're going for them. But right now, like I've said, with the signing of Gil, I don't want to stockpile with another young person, right? Who for me is even better than this guy, right? And the only way that I'll accept Omorodion, really,
that's too far, man.
I've watched enough games. I've watched enough games of both of them, and in my opinion, I prefer Gil. You know what I'm saying? I actually preferred Gil over all the options that we had. All Sesko and all them lot. I actually preferred him. For me, he looked like the cleanest out of all of them, So that's my opinion on this, innit? Yeah. If we do bring in Osimhen, it will soften the blow. But the biggest concern that I've got is the fact that we missed so many big chances last season. Yeah, and he's not a great finisher, this guy, bro. He in front of goal. I'll show you videos after of all his shots from last season. Meaty, bro. Meaty. Even the other day, I watched his game back in the Olympics. Bro, he had a poor game, but he ended up scoring a header, which was good, because like you're saying, he's good in the air. Aerially, he's better than Jackson for sure. He's even better than Osimhen in the air, I believe, as well, statistically. But Dan, what do you think of the sign of Omorodion, bro? Are you more on Ziad's side, or is it someone that you're just not keen on as well?
It's a tough one, mate, because I actually think there's a bit of a player in there. I think he needs to be nurtured, and I think he needs to improve. But he's 20 years old, 6'4", scored 9 goals in a poor Alaves side. There's potential there, but is it what Chelsea need? No. Like it's so obviously not what Chelsea need right now. If we sell Datro, Fofana and Broja and bring in this guy as the second, third striker in the team, then I have an understanding of why we'd make this move. But I think Charlie hit the nail on the head. I think this is being a player that's being bought in to potentially flip for a profit further down the line, like we did with Datro Fofana. It's an absolute waste getting our hopes up for a player to represent Chelsea when they're not realistically going to have much of a shot at the first team. So it doesn't excite me. I do think there's a player in there. I think it would take a while to see that player sort of flourish at Chelsea if that's what he's being brought in to do. So, yeah, look, it's not exciting, is it? We all know as Chelsea fans that this team is crying out for a proper goal scorer with a bit of experience and a match winner. And anyone we're being linked with at the moment isn't that across the whole squad, pretty much. I hear what you're saying, by the way, on Gui. He looks okay. He's looked all right in pre-season. Haven't seen him score yet, but sometimes that ain't the main part of a player's game. He
scored against
come on, like it's in pre-season.
It would have been an own goal in a competitive.
Yeah, I think it's an own goal.
Yeah, but but if you go watch his movement to actually get in that area, he waited
in a competitive game. He ain't getting that goal. I want to see him actually finish or score with his head. I hear what you're saying,
this guy, bro.
But I'm saying one thing that stuck out to me, with Gil, because I'm in a group chat with all AJ and these lot, yeah. I was sending them clips from even his academy days, and I could clearly see that in the box, he's got that natural instinct that Jackson hasn't really got. That's the difference between all of these guys. They're all better than Jackson in the box because they're all natural strikers. That's one of the strengths of Omorodion. In the box, I can't lie, he's good, and he might be able to get in better areas to a Jackson. I'm just not confident that he'll be able to finish these chances. You know what I'm trying to say?
I just think the fact that we're having this discussion that between him, Omorodion, and Jackson as Chelsea's main striker or as one of our main options going forward into next season, it just shows that there's areas of our squad that is just not good enough, in my opinion.
But what I would say as well, if Alvarez accepts and Omorodion comes, which is probably likely, surely signing Omorodion makes signing Guiu completely pointless. Because
for 6 million, Charlie, he goes out on loan to
that's my point, though, isn't it? Like it basically means that
further down the line.
Yeah, that will confirm that Guiu's not going to be at the club next season if Omorodion comes. We don't need 3 strikers in the squad because you can have 2, and then Nkunku can act as that third one if needed. So I think that'll basically confirm that Guiu, unless he does a madness on loan next season, doesn't really have a future at Chelsea already, which seems like a mad thing to say. But you can just see it now. Like, he was an opportunity in the market because he was cheap. Like, we're not signing him if he was 20, 30 million quid. Let's be real, we're not. We took it. We took a punt on him because he was 5 mil, and you're guaranteed a profit from it.
I would say off of the back of pre-season, we've already doubled his value.
Oh, easy, yeah.
If someone came in now, we're selling him for 12 million.
Oh,
so they've made 6 million. So you whack 6 million on the books already. It's a little bit chipped off at the tally that we were in negative on. So that's all it's there for. That's all these recruitment. Most of these recruitment drives are there to make this ownership or the club money and get us out of the shit that they've got.
They're all opportunities. If you look at all the business we've done this summer, they're all opportunities. They're all opportunistic.
They are. It's the same as tossing.
Yeah,
like we've already
toasting free. Like Dewsbury Hall at 30 mil was an opportunity. Probably below market value. Guiu opportunity 5-6 million quid. Like most of the signings we've made this summer are all opportunities. Rather than actually improving the first 11. Look, some of these guys could surprise us and actually make a difference to the first team. But if we're looking at it on paper with the names that we're seeing, it's very hard to make a case for any of them coming in and making an improvement to the first 11. I think the only ones you could maybe say are Dewsbury Hall because he knows the system and I expect that he might start, and maybe Tosin, although I'm not convinced that he's going to be part of the first choice partnership.
I think as well, you see with the Gallagher situation as well, if that goes through, that's pure profit on the books. But whereas the Omorodion, where it's pretty much the same fee we're getting rid of Gallagher for, it's probably going to be amortized for a couple of years. So again, financially, that's where the way Chelsea are looking for it. And yes, people get annoyed. We're not financial experts. We shouldn't be talking about it. But we're just looking at the way the club is being run. That's the way they look at things. And in terms of improving our current squad, you could argue Omorodion does do that because, like I said, Jackson doesn't have the ability that striker
he improves the squad, but not the actual 11.
I think what Charlie's looking for is like a guarantee.
I think in Maresca's system, I mean, you look at the way Nkunku's creating chances, Lavia's creating chances. You're not going to need Jackson to drop deep like he did last season and start running down the line and trying to create for himself. We're going to have people creating for the striker.
But that's where Jackson's game is at his strongest, though.
At times, he had Vardy and Datro doing that a lot. Like Vardy would drop very deep, the ball would go straight to him from the goalkeeper. He would pop it off to like a Harry Winks spin, and then Mavididi, Fatal, they're all gone. Dewsbury Hall, they're all gone. That's how they used to attack. So that he does need a striker who's able to pin the centre backs and actually control the ball properly. And that's one of the biggest concerns I've got. He's got a touch of a trampoline, bro. You know what I'm saying? But AJ, thanks for joining us, my bro. Listen, what do you think of Omorodion, man? Because I kind of know what you think of him. Obviously, we're in a group chat together. But what do you think of this guy? Are you keen on him?
I mean, first of all, big up the panel. I believe everybody said basically, what it is. He's a good striker. I believe the profile that we need, we're looking for. But is he the experience? Is he the guarantee, quote unquote, that we need? We have a lot of projects in the team already, and the team is kind of crying out right now for a solid finisher, somebody that we know will get us goals if the chance is presented. And Osimhen is supposed to be that guy. Now, there's a lot of arguments saying, okay, we signed Jackson last year. We didn't know what he was going to do, but look at the impact he had on the team. Can you apply that argument to Omorodion? Yes, you can. Exactly. So it's kind of like it's a chance, Again, in our group chat, I told you I wanted Tony, but now when I've been seeing the preseason games and how the play actually comes out, it looks like Osimhen or a penalty box striker. I guess I don't know. Is Omorodion that? I haven't seen him.
He is. He's good in the box.
If he's that, then we're on the right track. So it's kind of just like, again, having a faith type of thing, and that's kind of difficult. And after having 2 mediocre seasons, we kind of as fans want something to make us feel a bit more secure. So I think that's where the insecurity comes from. Again, there's rumors saying that we might sign both. Me seeing how we've operated, I don't see us signing both. I think it's either Omorodion or Osimhen. But if we sign both, that would be great. That does mean that Guiu goes out on loan. And I'd say Guiu is a potential profit player that he's shown that he has something, but we've seen other strikers show. We've seen Datro Fofana show that he has something. Yep. We still let him go. So it's a tricky situation. It's very complex. There's not one answer, but I hope we could get Osimhen at the end of the day because I need something like that.
Facts. And Ornstein spoke about it. Said Chelsea's pursuit of Osimhen is tied to Napoli's strong desire to sign Lukaku. He has 2 years left on his contract at the Bridge, but neither he nor Chelsea want him to play for the club again, which is the right decision, man. This guy came in 4 months into the job, starts talking nonsense, unprovoked about the club after begging us to go and buy him. You know what I'm trying to say? It was crazy. But listen, again, there's a deal to be done there. There is a deal to be done there because we've got Lukaku. Conte loves this guy, so Napoli are going to obviously have to have good relationships with us, But Charlie, what do you think, bro? Do you think that we should bring in Osimhen as well as an Omorodion? And how confident are you that this will actually happen?
Bro, I'll be honest, and I'm happy to be wrong. I see this, no way this is happening. This is just like, for me, one of them, it's like a smoke screen in terms of, well, look, we tried to sign a top class striker, but the finances or the stipulations for the deal weren't right. Chelsea basically saying that they only want Osimhen on their terms. They want a loan with an option. Like, if you're Napoli, you're never agreeing to a loan with an option because we're basically giving us a 12-month trial. And if we don't like him, we can send him back. And then they're going to be lumped with Osimhen and Lukaku on their books. So I don't see this one happening. I just purely think this is a bit of a PR spin to try and appease fans to make it look like, they have tried to sign a top-level striker. I understand that, there's a deal there to be done, right? And so for me, if Chelsea were definitely convinced on Osimhen, right, they would be fully pursuing this and a deal's there to be done rather than going for Omorodion, wouldn't they? Because it's so obvious the deal's there to be done because Osimhen.
But then you can argue that this deal with Omorodion is happening because obviously Man City have now gone in for Alvarez. We've accepted the deal for Gallagher. It's a domino effect. At times in a window, you do have to wait for certain things to happen.
Yeah, for sure. But I just look at it and for me personally, mate, I don't think Osimhen's Chelsea's main priority because otherwise you would be pushing really hard to get this deal done. And they're kind of just seemingly, to me anyway, and the reports that are coming out, there's talks and whatnot. And it would seem like we're in a good position because we've got Lukaku, who Napoli desperately want, and it would make sense for both players to be involved in the deal in some capacity. But Napoli aren't going to agree to a loan with an option. It would have to be an obligation, which at least then gives some permanency to the deal. Osimhen's not prepared. I think I've seen reports saying that Osimhen's not prepared to drop his salary demands. I don't know. His salary is probably in excess.
It's 12 million. It's 12 million a year. He's on.
So it's in excess of what we would potentially be prepared to offer. I just find it with Osimhen, right? I get it's an expensive deal. Why is there barely no suitors for this guy?
Because of his wages.
Price.
But it's not a simple deal. It's actually a very difficult deal to do. I think the only reason we're even in for him is because we've got Lukaku and they really want him.
That's it. That's it. Because we were in earlier, weren't we? And then we were ruled out because of the cost. And then the Lukaku thing comes to the table and suddenly we're back in because we've got something that could really help us with a deal. But I think the longer this goes on for Napoli, by the way, Osimhen's not even training with them. He's not even been involved in any of their pre-season stuff. The longer it goes on, right, they're going to have to reduce that price further and further and further. So I'm wondering whether there's teams that are just sitting tight that haven't played their hand yet, knowing that the closer it gets to the start of the season, the closer it gets to the end of the window, Napoli are going to have to drop their price. I mean, I'm looking at I'm not saying it will happen by any accounts, but you could imagine maybe a team like Arsenal might be keeping half an eye on this because they're looking for a centre forward potentially. And as I said, Napoli are going to have to keep dropping that asking price. Or Osimhen, if he wants to leave, is going to have to drop his wage demands because no one's paying the release clause and no one's paying his salary as things stand right now. So, look, I think there's a chance potentially, but I don't see it happening. What's the point in signing both? What's the point in signing all three? Because people say, if you sign both, Jackson can play on the wing, right? But Jackson is not a winger in a Maresca system. He likes those touchline wingers high and wide up the pitch. Jackson's not a touchline winger for how Enzo Maresca likes to play. So I think that point is redundant. So how is there space for Jackson, Omorodion, and Osimhen in the Chelsea team to play through the middle? There simply isn't. So for me, whilst in theory it would be great to get them both, the practical reality is it doesn't make any sense in my opinion.
Okay, Dan, what do you think of Osimhen, bro? Would you be happy to break the wage structure for this guy? You know, because he splits a lot of opinions, right? A lot of people think, some people think he's world class, others think he's crap, others think he's overrated, others think he's just average. Would you be happy to break the wage structure for this guy? Because clearly, like obviously don't want to be paying crazy wages like what Roman used to do. And like Jamer says, he wants Osimhen at any means. Would you do it, bro?
I think with the current situation, yeah, I would. I don't think probably towards the end of last season after AFCON, I wasn't that keen on Osimhen. I felt like there might be better options out there if we really explored the market. But I think we're in a position now where getting an Osimhen would be an overachievement for Chelsea. I don't see us being attractive to most players that are on a higher level to Osimhen. The fact that Osimhen would want to join would surprise me a little bit. But look, if he does, then we should be making that happen for me, because I just don't think the quality is there up front. We don't have a striker that is on Osimhen's level, whether you consider him world class or not. I don't think anyone is quite as good as him in the Chelsea squad. The price that I consider Lukaku wasted at this club in terms of financially and everything. I don't value him as an asset whatsoever. So if he enables us to get Osimhen for under sort of 60, 70 million in terms of pounds, I feel like that's not a bad deal. For a player of Osimhen's quality, that's where I'd see a fair sort of market value, I think. ADO at Napoli was sort of valuing him so far out of proportion that all these clubs were put off. And I think PSG are in the market for Julian Alvarez as well. They've made apparently a way more substantial offer in terms of wages. And if that breaks down at Atletico and he decides to go there, then obviously that could be a knock-on effect. But the other thing is that if he decides to go to Atletico and not join PSG, then I think PSG can be in the market for Osimhen as well. And I think they're one of the only teams out there that would be willing to risk the wages that he would want. Should we break the wage structure? Yes, if the player's right. I think we've got players at the moment who are on big wages and probably wouldn't be as effective as Osimhen might be. So yeah, I don't mind breaking the wage structure if a player's earned the reputation that Osimhen has in his last few seasons. He's done it in the French league. He's done it in Serie A. He's questionable at the AFCON last time round, no doubt about that. But I don't think we've got a player in the squad that offers what Osimhen does. Osimhen is fantastic in the air, by the way, as well.
No,
his aerial ability is outrageous. His movement inside that 18-yard box is fantastic.
Exactly.
I think for me, he kind of strikes a bit of a balance as well between what Leicester had last year in their strikers, between Vardy and Hanacho. I feel like he's quite a bit of a blend between the two, and I feel like in a Maresca system, I could see him working.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Listen, we've got 325 people in the house right now. We're not even on 100 likes, people, man. Listen, keep smashing that button. We're on 80 right now. Big up AJ for letting people know to hit up the likes. People, please keep hitting up the likes. Like I said, road to 3K. We'll get there. Do you know what I'm saying? But Ziad, what do you think about this whole Osimhen thing, man? How much would you want? How much do you want this guy?
I think I want him because there's not really many better options on the market. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but you look at our current market, Chelsea are in desperate need of a striker. So you can't complain if we do sign Osimhen, especially if it comes with getting rid of Lukaku. And the fact that as much as it may sound crazy to get Osimhen and Omorodion, if that still happens, I can in a way see it happening. Like I think there's a higher chance of us getting him, even with signing Omorodion, than there is PSG. You think it's crazy for us to have Jackson, Omorodion, and Osimhen? Imagine having Osimhen, Ramos, and Moani. Imagine that. You know, that would be crazy. I think that's more unrealistic, especially this late into the window. Are PSG going to be able to get rid of any of those strikers they can't really have? You know, I think as of now, the only really options Osimhen has is probably, unless he changes his mind and goes to Saudi, or Chelsea or Arsenal. Arsenal could be coming in late. Would they pay that fee and wage demands? Possibly. But Chelsea could do it because people need to realize that Osimhen is leaving this summer. There is no way in hell this guy stays at Napoli. It's impossible. He's not been training with the first team. Conte has come out and said he's dying for Lukaku. It's going to happen. Like, there's no way this guy doesn't leave the club. So as much as it may sound crazy, I think there's a higher chance of us getting him than PSG. Unless Arsenal come back in, where else is he going to go? So listen, I think we can, as long as this Alvarez deal, he agrees personal terms with Atletico Madrid. I think we can get excited for the next end of the window, bro. Towards the end
I'm
of the
not really
window.
looking at Arsenal right now as a concern, man.
I'm not either, but
I
I'm
don't
just saying,
really.
you never know.
I don't. Arsenal are a funny one. They haven't made him their main target the way they made Rice their main target. You know, with Rice, they were happy to go pay over the odds. Arsenal, other than that Rice deal, I've never known them to go and pay over the odds. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you're gonna have to do for Osimhen. Wages as well as the price. And like you guys have said already, we have a player that Napoli wants. There's definitely a deal that can be done there. But someone just said here, where is it? Where's the comment here? Yeah. Kems, big up Kems. Yeah, said I hate to say this, but I strongly believe this will be another mid-table season. I hope I'm wrong though. AJ, what do you think of Kems' take, bro?
I mean, it's in the possibilities. It's in the realm of possibilities. The only thing is, you know, looking at the team, I think we still do have a lot of talented players, and I think the coach is onto something. And again, we've said it on the stream multiple times now. He's very tapped into what's going on and like the tweaks he needs to make, and I mean just the things that are needed. You know, I know the last game against City, you know, people are questioning, after we took that step forward, you know, are we going backwards? But if you look at the context of the game, it's really just how we were set up and the needs of some players needing fitness. But if you actually look at how the team's being formulated, we have something to work with. Now, we do need, the two key things are, can we score goals and can we keep them out of our net? And that's been our problem. Last year, our defense, we gave up over 60 goals. You know, it's insane. Insane. And we didn't really score too many goals until like the end of the season. We started scoring a lot of goals. So it's really, we miss a lot of chances. That's another thing, you know, missing chances and scoring goals is a big thing, you know, in positioning. So this statement, you know, it's very possible, you know, but I'm thinking top 5 maybe, you know, right now. If we get Osimhen, then that pushes us up another like 2 spots maybe, because that's an extra 7, 8, 9 goals, you know, and just so I say it's possible.
Yeah, for me, I honestly don't see another mid-table season, even as we are right now. You know, I've been on a few streams. I've spoken about it already. I've said for me, we've got the 3rd best squad in the league, right? And people straight away will think that means you've got the 3rd best team. It doesn't mean that, right? In terms of our team, we're probably not even top 5, right? Because you can have a good squad, but it's all about putting the team together. Right now, Arsenal have a better team than us. You know, Man City have a better team than us. You can argue Spurs have a better team than us. You've got Liverpool have got a better team than us, right? We've got, in terms of the names and the depth and the quality, for me, we've got the 3rd deepest and the 3rd in terms of the most quality, right? And so far, from what I'm seeing from Maresca, like I said, I've done a lot of I watched a lot of his games back last year, and I clearly see that this was a manager that had a clear style of play. But it's not going to be easy for players to get their head around it. And you've already seen a few players struggling in certain positions, you know. And what I've been really impressed with so far is in game, when he realizes something isn't working, he just changes it, bro. You know what I'm saying? He's quite proactive with it. The other day, he realized Levi Cole kept getting touched up, you know, on the left-hand side. He moved him more centrally. He took off Disasi, you know. There's been a few things that he's done where I'm like, okay, this guy clearly knows what he's doing tactically. And today, it came out about Enzo's position, because the other day, obviously, Enzo played in the right half space, which for me is a position that I don't like him in, you know, in between the lines. I want Enzo getting the ball in the first phase, facing the pitch and dictating the game. You know what I'm saying? That's his best position. And Enzo said it here. Enzo Maresca said he was playing attacking midfielder against Man City. In some moments, he had to go wide to receive the ball and create space for his teammates. But we are not thinking to use Enzo in this position for the future. What do you think of what do you think of Maresca so far, Charlie? From what you've seen of him, and you know, what are you sort of looking to see later on? Because obviously we're playing later on today.
Bro, I think he's done all right. You know, look, the results are the results what we wanted. No, do the results matter in preseason? No, they don't. Look, I think positives. I've seen some signs that we're starting to get to grips with what he's asking of the players. I think people overestimate that a lot of these players are being asked to play in a way that they've not played before in their careers. To expect, you know, a new manager to come in and implement his system and kind of style of play within 4 games is ridiculous. I think already there's a clear sign of an identity and there's a clear style of play, which was lacking last season. You know what Chelsea are about now. Yes, we haven't quite, got on top of it and sort of mastered the system, but we know what we know what this Chelsea team is really going to be about. We know the way that we're looking to play, and now it's just about learning it. In terms of concerns, what I would say is it's concerning that we are conceding the same types of goals still. So many individual mistakes, and also we're still so vulnerable instantly after we concede. How many times last season did we concede a goal and then let another one in within the next 5-10 minute spell? That's exactly what's happening again in this pre-season. We're making individual mistakes, we're letting in goals, and then within the next 5 or 10 minutes, we're conceding again. And that's a worry, because those are the sorts of goals we've been conceding over the last 2 to 3 seasons. And that issue is still there. So there are some positives and there are some negatives. But I think overall, I've not been a massive fan of this tour, purely because there's been no time to work on anything. You do a training session, you play a game, and you're flying somewhere else. Like, the whole logistics of the tour are not conducive to actually being able to do any decent work on the training pitch. Maresca said that himself in the presser yesterday. Like, some games they've not even been able to prepare with a training session. They've been preparing with like videos and shit on the whiteboard. Like, the tour is not conducive to getting decent work done. So the 2 weeks at Cobham, I think a lot of work was done there. And then obviously a lot of work's going to be done sort of in the 10 days or so they've got when they get back. So I think he's done okay, to be fair. There are some concerning signs that they can see in the same types of goals, but at least we can see a style of play and an identity appearing, which hopefully we can kind of push on with. But ultimately, everyone's got to be patient. This is not going to be a quick fix. And I think people need to realise, right, that if things do go wrong and we go through difficult periods and whatnot, which I think we will next season, this is not the manager's fault. Let's make that perfectly clear. This is on the people above, in my opinion. So positive signs, but there are still a few concerning things, and there's still a lot of work to do.
A few people have obviously been concerned about the defense, because we've still got PTSD from last season, bro. We score a goal within 2 minutes, someone's making a stupid mistake at the back. But for me, the first 2 games, it was very clear to see why we're getting cut open like that. Because attacking, bro, we looked quite good. Straight away, like you're saying, Charlie, I could see the patterns, But the problem was on that transition, because you had Reece James inverting, and every time he would go back into a back 4, you had Lavia in all that space by himself, right? So you had all these midfielders, all these strikers and that just running at him, and he's all by himself in that island, because Reece James is not used to playing in that position. But then when he decided to start inverting Gusto against Club America, you could see the difference straight away, bro. That was our most balanced lineup. We won 3-0. I know it's only Club America and that, but they're actually mid-season at the minute. So their fitness is a lot better than these guys, And for me, we scored 3 goals and the defense looked a lot better. And last season, what I was seeing with Maresca is off the ball, Leicester were keeping like a 4-5-1 shape, very compact. And they had the 3rd best defensive record in the league as well. That's why I was a little bit more like, okay, this guy might actually work better than De Zerbi, because De Zerbi, he had his team playing open football at times. The man-to-man aggressive pressing would lead to a lot of holes in behind. You know what I'm trying to say? So again, I think it goes back to trying different personnel, working out what works best. And again, these players learning how to gel a little bit. But Dan, what do you think of what you've seen from Maresca so far? Because you're someone that was a little bit skeptical, and rightly so, because obviously he's coming from the Championship. You didn't really know much about him. You've grown up on world-class managers. But from what you've seen so far, bro, what's the sort of what's your take so far on him? How are you feeling about him so far?
Yeah, I agree with most of what Charlie said, to be fair. I think he's been all right. I think I feel sorry for him in the fact that I don't think he's been given the best environment as of yet to succeed. And I know it's very early days, but pre-season's been a nightmare for any new coach to work on a squad. He's got some of his best players, because of how well they did in the Euros, not coming back. He's had obviously outside influences affect the dressing room as well. He's not had the smoothest start to life at Chelsea, so that's been tough. I'll be honest, the Celtic game, I wasn't impressed at all. I thought we looked woeful. I thought we looked all over the place. The difference is, though, and what is massive compared to what we saw last season, is he came out straight away, identified every single thing that most of us had said as well, and said there's problems here, we've seen this. the next game or the next couple of games, we've seen clear improvement and clear rectification to issues in his system, which we didn't see for 30 games from Pochettino. So that's massive for me, because I said I'll judge him on the evidence that he gives me. And so far, he's showing that he clearly has knowledge. He just doesn't have much experience. And I think if someone is aware of the game that's happening in front of them, the situations that are arising, and they can spot it that quickly that they can come out after the game and suggest that they already know what they need to work on, that I'll already be on their side, because Pochettino, for me, couldn't do that. Felt like he was out of his depth at some times. The two issues I've got are defensively. I feel like there is an issue. I don't think that's completely down to him. I think there's definitely some blame on the tactics, but also I feel like we're lacking quality in our central centre backs at this moment in time. I feel like there's not a leader there, and I feel like in terms of ability, no one's quite on the level that I'd expect someone to be at representing Chelsea. And the other thing that I'm just not sold on is how he's profiled Reece James. For me, I feel like he's sort of focused on the defensive side of Reece and the leadership qualities that he might add, rather than what we've seen Reece do so well in previous years, is how he goes forward, how he moves so dynamically on that right-hand side of the pitch. And I feel like that, for me, is the only thing, is that I feel like we may see it develop as the season goes on, and it's probably more important that we get Reece on the pitch than not have him at all. But can the dynamism be added back to Reece James as the season goes on and his fitness sort of improves? Because I can understand why Maresca probably doesn't want to risk him being as dynamic as he's been previously, and then he misses like the most of the season. But we all know what Reece adds going forward. He's one of the best right-sided players in the world on his day, and we can't lose that. And I hope Maresca is aware of that. It's just very early days. So, and also what I'll say is, when you've got a high, we've already spoken about this, Don, a little bit, but when you have a high IQ player in Maresca's system, you can see the benefits there. And I think Lavia is standout for me so far. I think he's looked exceptional.
Yeah. Dan's liking Lavia now, yeah?
Yeah, well, mate, I'll be honest. I didn't watch much of him at Southampton. You told me a lot about him last season, about him coming back, and then unfortunately he come back, got injured in half an hour because of Poch and his system and his however he thought was best to treat him. And from what I've seen, I've never not liked Lavia. I've just never been given reason or evidence to see him perform in a Chelsea shirt. And what I will say as well, just to touch on Lavia, is remember last year when we got Lavia and Caicedo, we signed two players of Osimhen at Elk in a certain position. That for me gives me hope that we could go and get Osimhen and Omorodion done, because we're not afraid to overcrowd a position as well. But there's
more positions in the midfield, though, isn't there, Dan? There's more options.
Well, I don't disagree, Charlie, but that's not been a problem. We've currently got 4 strikers on the books, 5 strikers on the books, maybe even 6 if you count Lukaku. So I don't think that's been an issue for this board. I really don't think it has. They're not bothered if they have 7 central midfielders, which they had at one point. Don't forget we signed Castellet and Andre Santos as well. So there's players there, there's numbers there. They're not bothered, and that kind of, I just hope that wouldn't put them off if they are worried about overcrowding the squad, because it's not bothered them already. But going back to the tactical system and what we've seen, I like the fact that he's rectifying his mistakes, because they're going to happen. It's a new squad, and we didn't see that for so long under Poch.
Exactly. And what people need to realize as well is pre-season is trial and error. You know, social media would tell you otherwise these days. Like, I'm seeing people losing their shit when we lost that first game. Like, oh, you lot wanted the championship manager. It's done for. And I'm like, bro, the guy's literally been with the squad for about 2 weeks. You know, they just landed in America. These guys are building their fitness. It's all about trial and error. You know, for me personally, I would rather my manager trying these things in preseason when it doesn't matter, because the results don't matter in preseason. It's all about performance and fitness, right? Rather than experimenting, doing up Frankenstein FC when the season starts. That's what Poch was doing. You know, last preseason, Poch stuck to the same system, and then in preseason, it starts chopping and changing and doing all of these things. You know what I'm saying? So, AJ, what do you want to see later on against Real Madrid, right? In terms of the lineup, bro, because the midfield, there's a lot of options in there, you know. And Enzo, for me, in between the lines, he's not it for me. I would rather an Nkunku in there who can drive at their man. I'd rather a Palmer in there who can drive at their man, create and do all of that. Enzo can create chances, but he's not press resistant. So when people press him, he just looks very awkward. So how would you want what do you want to see later on in terms of the setup, bro?
Well, I firstly I'd say Enzo is press resistant, just not in that area of the field. That's not
Yeah,
his
okay, not in that area. Yeah.
Now, the lineup is tough, because like you said, we have 500 options, but I do think we need to play a team very similar to the team we played against Club America, because I think the balance was correct. The roles, all the players accepted the roles and were decent in the roles. Again, we're 3 weeks into this process. You understand? So you're only going to be but so good in the system. But I do think that's the best we've looked so far, and I think we need to finish this American tour strong with that type of lineup. Now, again, it's preseason, so you got to factor in who needs fitness, who hasn't played, and did anybody new come back this week? I'm not sure. Cole Palmer didn't come back. He's still
he's not. He won't play till Inter.
So
Jackson could get some minutes today. I think that could be a plus. I also think like one thing I would like to see. Not that I think we necessarily need to learn how to play without him because we play without him so often. But I think it's important Maresca sets up and starts a team without Reece. Without Reece because he's banned for the first 3 games. And he's started every game so far. Let's see how he plays. We know Gusto's good and whatnot. I don't know who he'd play on the left-hand side though. In that left back role, maybe we see Renato Vega from the off, and let's see what he's like inverting from the left-hand side. But I think we need to see. I think we need to see Reece certainly not start. Maybe spend 60 minutes on the bench in this game, just so we can get a feel. Because against City, we're not going to have him. Against Wolves, we're not going to have him. And against whoever the third game's against, we're not going to have him. So I think we just need to have a little bit of practice with the lineup to see what it's saying without him.
True. No, it's true. Ziad, how about you, bro? How do you want to see the team set up?
Yeah, man, a bit of the same, to be honest. Kind of, yeah. Gusto probably good point in giving Reece James maybe a rest and seeing how it is without him. Maybe Vega, but the one player I want to keep seeing is actually Dewsbury Hall, man. I think one player he's a good player, man, and I want to see more of him. I don't think you could possibly think that he may be an instant starter every single game just because he came with Maresca, but I don't see that happening, man. If he ain't good enough, I think he'll be dropped. But I feel like he's a good player, and fans, like I said, because he's not an amazing name, because not a lot of people knew about him last season, they're completely writing him off. But I hope he can, prove everyone wrong. Maybe Jackson as well. Yeah, we haven't seen him in a while. Nicholas Jackson, and it's just anyone on the wing, man. I want to see someone take that left wing spot. Sterling came off the bench, done well. Mudryk started off on the right, so it's maybe a little bit unfair. But just start one of Sterling or Mudryk on the left, and let's just see how they play. One of them's got to bloody surely start in the first game of the season. One of them's
Sterling's
got to
actually
start
having a good preseason. Yeah, he is.
Sterling will definitely, in my opinion, unless Mudryk does a madness in these next 2 against Madrid and Inter, like Sterling starting against City on the first game of the season.
He's done well against them both times as well. He done both.
He's done all right. I think all of us have haven't really particularly rated his time at the club. And yeah, it's just pre-season, but he looks like he's got a little bit more about him in this pre-season than he has done sort of throughout his career. So I think right now, that left wing spot is his to lose at this point in time.
Facts. And listen, we've obviously got someone right now who is on his way to España. It doesn't seem to fit the system that we're trying to build. Long term, the owners have been trying to shift this guy for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Big dog, XL bully. XL bully Conor Gallagher on his way out, bro. For me, I've said I released a video earlier today. Listen, this was a player that obviously improved last season because he was with a manager who suited his style of play. I keep telling people, if you ask a monkey to climb a tree and ask the fish to do the same thing, who do you think is going to climb the tree the quickest? And that's why he stuck out the most in comparison to Caicedo and Enzo, because he was literally playing in a system which suited him best. But I've always said, bro, on the ball, this guy is not at the level that we need. When he's playing in that 10, he struggles to find that final pass, in terms of his shooting ability as well. He's meant to be crashing the box, but most of the time he's missing, instead of going forward, he'll go sideways. When he plays in the pivot, he's not comfortable receiving the ball with like being pressed in that first phase. So I've always said, listen, Gallagher is a player that we can play against teams like a Man City, for example, where you need to press Rodri, where you might not have the ball as much. Against Arsenal, remember at the Bridge, he pressed the fuck out of Declan Rice and Jorginho. Games like that, I don't mind him starting. But this is a player that didn't need to start every single game. You know what I'm trying to say? Every single game where he started, we don't need him, you know? And obviously, he feels like he's at a level now where he needs to be starting week in, week out, whereas Chelsea view him as a squad player, you know? So for me, it's been the right decision. You've had a lot of guys on Twitter crying about it, you know, always from Cobham is one of our own, you know, Conor Gallagher and all of these things. But for me, I'm like, yo, I'm club first before any player. If it doesn't suit what we're trying to do, it's time to move him on. And let's be real, we've given him a good platform, bro. He's going to a big club. You know what I'm saying? He's going to a world-class manager, right, who's playing Champions League football year in, year out. Do you know what I'm trying to say? But listen, Dan, what did you think of this Gallagher news, bro? Were you for this?
No, I was never for Conor leaving the club. I do think he, like what you said, he obviously maximised any minutes he was ever going to get for Chelsea last season because of the manager and how they fitted together and how they play and view football. Do I think the way he's been treated is acceptable? No. Do I think the contract offer that he was offered is disgraceful considering the players that have been offered with way less evidence 7-year deals? So I can see why Conor wouldn't be happy with that. Do I think it's acceptable banishing him to potentially off to the reserves? No. But do I think that Atletico Madrid and Simeone is the perfect fit for him if he's going to move to the continent? Yes. And arguably he's moving to a club that are in a better situation than Chelsea are. They're willing to spend 80 million on Alvarez. They're willing to put money behind Conor Gallagher. They're backing Simeone again. He's almost the perfect coach for Conor Gallagher if it isn't Poch. I think he's going to learn. I think he'll improve over there. And I feel like Conor's time at Chelsea is probably coming to an end because of the board. It's not the Chelsea he grew up loving anymore. And it's not a perfect fit for him. So I feel like this is the best move for both parties. I don't think it's been done as amicably as it could have been. But with the arrival of Dewsbury Hall, I definitely don't see room for Conor to fit into this Chelsea team anymore. We're being linked with the guy from Celtic as a potential replacement as well if Conor's to depart. So it's clear profit on the books. I think for me, it works for both parties, but it probably could have been done in a slightly better way than airing out the drama that's been aired with it, I think.
And Blaze, listen, Blaze, I agree with what you're saying. Caicedo was the best midfielder. What are you talking about? Bro, I agree. In my opinion, Caicedo was our best midfielder last year. But what I'm saying is, in terms of the midfielder that was prioritized, it was Gallagher, bro. It was clear as day that he was the one that was being prioritized ahead of Caicedo and ahead of Enzo. That's why a lot of rivals and outsiders would look at the game and say, yeah, he's the best performing midfielder. But of course he would look like that if he's being asked to press from the front and leave all this space in behind. That's what he's good at, you know? But Ziad, what did you think of the Gallagher news, bro?
Bro, listen, I'm a bit of the team, man. I don't agree with the fans out there that are, you know, celebrating, having a party as if, I don't know, we got rid of Lukaku. Like, if you're going to celebrate like this for Gallagher, what the hell are you going to do for someone like Lukaku or Kepa, you know? And then the other side of it for fans that, like, say, Chelsea are finished, the directors are a disgrace, you know, for getting rid of someone like Gallagher. I think that's also silly as well. At the end of the day, we all can agree he's not good enough to be anywhere near the starting lineup. And then at the end of the day, if you want someone like Atletico Madrid who's going to be able to offer that kind of money, why wouldn't we sell? Especially for pure profit. But to be honest, like as of now, it may not even happen. We maybe got excited for no reason, bro. Alvarez has got the whole fan base on lock, bro. He can say no. And then, I don't know, stay at City or go to somewhere else. And then that's it. The deal drops.
They're 5 million apart in terms of his salary at the moment. Atletico Madrid and Alvarez, that offers just under 5 mil what he's looking for. So there's a big gap in that valuation. So look, I don't know if they just like string these things out in it to like build suspense and drama and that. But there is a I think we have to sort of give some credence to the fact there could be a genuine situation where all this shit just topples over and collapses. Like there is a small chance that could happen. But I very much think the same as Dan on the Gallagher thing. It's evident that Chelsea this ownership have not wanted Gallagher from the moment they stepped through the door. They've tried to sell him from minute one when they came in. I agree with you, Don, that he was probably the biggest beneficiary of Pochettino coming to the football club. And he was perfect for what he was looking to do. And he put in a very, very good season. And you could understand from his point of view why he would want a longer term contract, because everyone gets offered long-term contracts. That's why I didn't get, Chelsea's brief they put out that we're only offering him a 2+1 because he's a squad player. And I'm thinking, well, hang on a second, you've offered fucking hundreds of squad players 7-year deals that are probably never going to play for the football club. So I don't like the dishonesty that's been put out there by the club. I don't like how, you know, they've made it very public and it's almost pitting Gallagher against the club sort of vibe. It could have been dealt with much better. But I think ultimately it probably is the best outcome for both parties. My only thing would be is that I do absolutely think that Gallagher is good enough to be a squad player at the football club. I don't think anyone's saying that he should be starting every week under Enzo Maresca, but there's definitely a role for him in the squad. You could argue that the Dewsbury Hall signing makes that a bit more difficult. I fully get that.
I'm glad you said that. I'm very glad you said that.
Yeah.
Because he's not better than Dewsbury Hall.
No, but there's I would say there's a role for him in the squad. My only other issue would be is that how have they decided after no training sessions that he's no good for Maresca? Like that, surely there should be, in my opinion, surely there should be an opportunity to prove yourself. Obviously, the club think differently, but yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think it's the writing's been on the wall for a while now, and it is probably the best solution for both parties. And he gets a brilliant move to a top football club.
Exactly. Let me just say something, Don.
Yeah,
I agree with what you said, but and I'm glad you put up that comment as well, because Gallagher, nobody's touching on Gallagher's role in this. You know, he's been very difficult in this process, and he's added to the mess to it. Like, let's put that out there. He, understand this is business. This is how business goes. It's gonna get messy sometimes, but the writing was on the wall, like the Chelsea eye test said. Gallagher knows that the club wasn't really too keen on him like going forward. So you got to move accordingly with that. But can you
just elaborate on how he's been difficult though? Like, can you just elaborate?
He's a contracted player, so you can do what you want. You can turn moves down if you want.
It's also business for the player as well, by the way.
But you didn't say that though.
I'm sorry, I didn't feel I had to state the obvious.
Okay,
There's a business side
I'm putting it out there. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, just elaborate on how Conor Gallagher's been difficult, because I don't think he has been. I think it's really important to remember.
Made it clear that they don't want Gallagher.
He hasn't been self-aware. He hasn't been self-aware.
Down to stay at the club. That's why he's being.
I think he has been self-aware, because I think last year he was obviously wanted by the manager, who was his number one point in contact.
The manager is not here anymore.
Yeah, I understand that, and Conor's not even met the new manager. I understand that.
But
Maresca's already watched Chelsea games.
He said is he knows all the players.
Chelsea games, bro.
I don't want. He told you he doesn't want Gallagher. Just accept it. It's the writing has been there. Now I'm not saying
I don't think the writing's been there for that long for Conor Gallagher to have been difficult. I just think that point's irrelevant. I just don't think Conor's.
What AJ's saying, right? What AJ's saying, right? Look, you are right in what you're saying. Both of you are right in what you're saying, right? Dan's basically saying Conor's under contract, so if he doesn't want to go to a club, he can turn down that move. But at the same time, AJ's basically saying the club were accepting these moves, but he wasn't being self-aware to realize the club doesn't want him long-term, is what AJ's saying. So you're both right in what you're saying, right? So
maybe
obviously,
backing himself.
Yeah, I agree, Charlie. I think he was backing himself.
Sorry, I didn't catch that, Charlie. Say that again.
But maybe he's backing himself to prove that actually he can make it.
Bro, you can back yourself as much as you want. The thing is, Charlie, it's football. You could back yourself as much as you want. If the manager doesn't fancy you and the club have made up their mind about you, bro, it's football. There's politics in football. Unfortunately, there's not much you can do. There's not much you can do, bro. He can have the best game in the world. He can have the best game in the world, yeah. But Gallagher isn't gonna turn into a Cole Palmer overnight. We know what Gallagher is. We know what Gallagher is, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we do.
But what I would say though is like, could you argue that like even if Maresca wanted to keep him, which we don't know, but say he did, would that be allowed anyway? I don't think it would. I think regardless of even if Maresca wanted him, he was gone because of the financial factor. Let's be real here. If Gallagher was French or Brazilian or whatever, and he performed how he did last season, bro, he's staying. Like,
no way, man.
Nah, bro. Two things can be true.
Because of the finances. He's staying because of the finances.
Yeah, but Charlie, two things can be right.
They offered him a contract extension. He could have just sat on the bench.
Yeah, but offered him a contract extension they knew he was going to reject to try and paint him out like he's the bad guy. That's no,
what I agree with him. I agree with him rejecting the contract if he wants to go out and play football. But if he doesn't want to play football and he just wants to sit on the bench because he's nowhere near good enough to start for Chelsea, then accept the deal.
Oh, bro,
He's nowhere near good enough to start for Chelsea. Nowhere near. No matter what.
Players have been
I agree. He shouldn't be starting every week. But I think this idea that people think, like, people say that he's absolutely like atrocious footballer, and
No.
he's not. He's not a bad footballer.
That I agree with.
I don't think I agree with that.
He just probably doesn't
Charlie. He turned down a very good move to Aston Villa, right? Who, again, playing Champions League football. Right now, they are rivals on paper, but they're not our long-term rivals like a Spurs, like a Arsenal, like a United and whatnot, right? So he turned down that move. After he turned down that move in June, they offered him the new contract. You're saying 2+1, yeah, cool. But end of the day, they obviously rewarded him for the fact that he improved last season. But at the same time, they were like, cool, we're not going to give you the mad thing because we want to see you prove yourself, right? But the problem is Gallagher doesn't want to accept the role of a squad player because last season, he was one of the main players, bro. You know, players have egos, end of the day. Players have egos. Sure. But unfortunately for him, he is not in the plans to be starting week in, week out. So we've got to do what we've got to do for ourselves because end of the day, if you're not going to sign a contract, right, you're going to run it down. We're going to lose you on the free. That's free. That's profit gone out the window. Yeah. So when it comes to next season and people are asking for big names,
business, bro.
Where's the straight profit? The profit's not there no more, bro.
Sure.
So now you got to think business one. You got to think business one, bro. You can't be losing a big asset like that for free. There's no way, bro.
Absolutely not. My only point would be though is that Chelsea, unfortunately, under this ownership, I'm sure it happened under Roman as well, but certainly under this ownership, they've made a bad habit and they're getting a reputation of treating long-serving members of staff and players with disdain and not in the right way. We've seen it with the academy lads. We've seen it with the academy lads.
Look at Cole. Look at Reece James, bro. Reece James, they literally said Cole was untouchable.
This is not
they gave him a new contract after Liverpool were trying to sign him. Reece James has been made captain. You know?
No, I'm not talking about the academy. What I mean is in terms of like there's a pattern occurring under this ownership, and as I said, I'm sure it happened under Roman as well, where long-serving players and members of staff have not been treated well. You know, Chalobah, disgraceful treatment. I don't. People can disagree with me. I think that's disgraceful for what they've done to Trevor Chalobah. You know, look at the comments Bowley and Egbali made, and the directors when they offered him a new 6-year contract, whatever it was, less than 2 years ago, and now look at their stance on the situation. Disgraceful treatment of him. I think you could argue the Gallagher thing. You know, it could have been handled better. Not really the way to treat someone that's dedicated their entire life to the football club, regardless of what you think of his quality. Then you've got other long-serving members of staff and whatnot. I just think there's I get it, football's a business, and at a top level of sport and in business, things are ruthless. But there's a certain way you should treat people, and I just think Chelsea right now are not treating players in the right way, in my opinion. I could be wrong on this, but that's just the way that I see it. And I think that sort of a reputation can come back to bite you in the arse. You know, people looking at, you know, the Gallagher situation for an example, where you come through the ranks, you dedicate your life to the club. You don't necessarily do anything wrong, but just like that, you can be chucked out. The same with Chalobah. I just think it's they're not
old.
Reality, bro.
These owners don't own any. Like, so I hear this a lot. Oh, this 16-year-old is gonna look at Gallagher. Like, bro, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. These owners don't owe you anything. You can be in the academy for as long as you want. They don't owe you anything. Just because you've come from the academy, doesn't mean you're guaranteed to spot into the first team or guaranteed to be in the squad. End of the day, Chelsea have made it clear they do not want this guy. They've accepted bids for Aston Villa, Everton, long time ago, right? They made it clear. He's rejecting the move, and Chelsea's stance is, listen, you're not good enough. We want pure profit for you, and we're going to do everything in our ability to get rid of you. Simple as that.
And he
if you want to stay, you can sign the contract and be a squad player. Simple.
He played well
and earn good money because the contract, the money was there. He was going to earn like the same wages as Caicedo on that. So the money was there as well. So I don't know what more he wanted. Really.
He wanted a bigger role. That's what it was. He wanted a bigger role, and the people around him have made him feel like he's better than what he is. When in reality, he was just getting nice last year because of injuries, because of Poch. There was many things, many reasons. You know what I'm trying to say?
I would say that I think Chelsea do overlook a lot of other intangible assets in terms of like loyalty, work rate. I know these things aren't the be all and end all necessarily, but I think Chelsea very much overlook those kind of qualities In my opinion, I think they don't give enough consideration to them. And this is not.
What do you think of these sort of takes, though, Charlie? Because obviously,
I agree.
I'm seeing a lot of people like yourself who seem to forget that this used to happen under Roman. What do you think of what Winner Surfer's got to say? Big up Andrew as well.
I agree. I didn't think. I thought Tomori was treated badly. I thought like, this is not an ownership against ownership thing. This is very much a case of Chelsea should, in my opinion, should treat players better. I get it. It's business at the end of the day, but for me, there's too many instances where players are not being treated well. The only one you could argue a case for that deserve the treatment they've got is Lukaku, because he actively disrespected the football club. But otherwise, I just think the others, ones that are listed there, ones that I've listed myself, I don't think they've treated them in the right way. But people can disagree, and that's cool. At the end of the day, we all want Chelsea to do well.
How do you think it should have played out then? Like, ideally, what do you think should have happened with Gallagher? What's your ideal?
They should have kept it behind closed doors, in my opinion. Why does it all need to be so public?
Nothing is behind closed doors.
No, well, it is other clubs that are rubbish.
For Gallagher, that's being naive. That's being naive, bro. That was never going to be behind closed doors. Not for Gallagher. You know what I'm saying?
My point is, though, is that what I really disliked about this particular scenario, right, is how public it was and how the briefs that the club were putting out. You can look at the timestamps. Every journalist was putting the same tweets with the same words at the exact same time, right? And the way that they're putting it out there in terms of they're trying to turn fans against the player by saying, "Look, we offer this."
That I hear.
I disagree. That's my biggest problem.
Yeah, that bit, Charlie, I hear what you're saying, because all the journalists started coming out saying he's been offered a new contract, But then when you talk about behind closed doors, bro, we didn't even know that he got offered a new contract in June. He got offered the contract twice. It's only the other day that they released the information that they offered him a new contract to try and save face or whatever. But it was actually done in the background, and they didn't release that information before. You know what I'm trying to say?
This ownership, whether you think it's good or not, this ownership has done it to other players, not only academy players.
Oh, yeah.
Koulibaly got rinsed after one season. Hakim Ziyech was supposed to be on the way to PSG. Maman was sitting there. I think it just happened.
Right for any of them. As I said, the only instance where you can make an argument for it is Lukaku, because he actively disrespected the club. But regardless of whether it's academy players or players not from the academy, that treatment's not right, in my opinion. But if people disagree, then that's no problem.
Yeah, listen, hey, that was a fire stream, man. Fire stream. We covered quite a lot. Still got 390 people in the house. Listen, people, smash up the likes before you lot sign out of here, man. We're on 160 right now. Let's try and get to 200 before the end of the show. But let's round up, man. Let's round up. Charlie, listen, love for your time every single time, my bro. I'll definitely get you on again. Let them know where they can find you, G.
Nah, pleasure, mate. Thanks as always. Literally find me over on Chelsea Fan TV. And you can find me on YouTube as well. Ads on the screen at Blueberry CFC. Less than 200 from 11K now. So if anyone wants to help me get there, then please head over and subscribe.
Yeah, make sure, people. Make sure. Ziad, let them know they can find you, bro. Love for coming on, man.
Love, bro. Very recently on Chelsea Fan TV, but as well on the Tiger Ziad Zone on the road to 2K, man. So big up to Don. Make sure you like and subscribing. And then, if you haven't subscribed to my channel as well, man, make sure you show some love. Big up, man.
Love for coming on, man. AJ, as always, love for coming on, man. Where can they find you, bro?
Big up, Don. Big up the chat. Yeah, you see me on TikTok, NYC Chelsea Blues, and you'll catch me on Don's channel, Jem's channel. And that's it.
Yes, bro. And Dan, let them know they can find you, bro.
Yeah, pleasure having me on, Don. Great chat, boys, as well. I'm sure we're all just wanting the same for Chelsea this season to just refresh our enjoyment of football again, because we lost that last year. I think that's the most important thing to remember. But it's at BDB Dan on all the socials, and live on TikTok and YouTube throughout the week. So I'll catch you guys in a bit.
Love. Listen, on that note, up the Chels. Let's hope for a better performance later, man. Love in a bit, people.